Welcome to Kiffin's Keep, an intellectual resource for the pillar and buttress of the truth, which is the church. This is a project of the London Lyceum, which is all about serious thinking for a serious church. I'm Jordan Stefaniak, president of the London Lyceum and host of Kiffin's Keep. And as always, I'm excited to be here with you guys today. Don't forget, before we start, like the video if you enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with all the stuff that we produce, and drop a comment, whether you like the content, whether you don't like it, you agree, you disagree, you have thoughts, ideas, whatever it is. Love to hear from you guys. Now, let's get down to business. As you know, I try to only have one out of every 4 episodes on a disparate topic that's not related to sort of my structured programming. This is one of those. I want to talk a little bit about women at ETS. ETS, if you're not familiar, is the Evangelical Theological Society. So I want to talk about this, and I know this might be a lightning rod, but I don't really care. I like to shoot straight with you guys. I think you understand that, and I think it's important. We need more people who are willing to speak forthrightly and honestly, with conviction, with compassion and clarity and charity and all those things. We need to balance all these things together, and I think the best sort of mode of communicating that, apart from having coffee with somebody in person, is to do it through video like this, because you can see and witness sort of the body language and the interaction and how you're trying to inflect sort of things much better than a tweet or something like that. However, I did tweet something, probably shouldn't have, but I did. It is what it is. So there's been a significant amount of anxiety over the last several weeks since ETS. Whenever last was, they elected a woman as a president. Excuse me. They elected a woman as president. Now, that may not make any news for you. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But there was anxiety over this for a couple of reasons. There's anxiety because there's a group that wants to support funds to have more women at ETS to hopefully elect them and have more opportunities for them. I think that's just silly. Like, you can make scholarships to go to ETS. Who cares? Whatever. Move on. The real, I think, question that seemed to cause a lot of stir and anxiety is just that. A woman is leading an evangelical theological society. How dare a woman do that? Because don't we know the text of Scripture, 1 Timothy 2, tells us that a woman is not to exercise authority or teach a man. And if a woman is teaching in this capacity or exercising authority and leadership in a theological society, that's bad news. And that seems to be based upon one of 2 premises. Number one is a premise of universal male headship, where men are by nature authoritative over women in every sphere. It doesn't matter what it is. It's the home, it's the church, but it's things beyond that. It's the grocery store. It's getting directions, right? That's the famous John Piper quote that a woman shouldn't give a man directions because that's sort of like violating the order of nature. And so it doesn't matter where it is, women are not to have any sort of leadership authority over a man. And in this case, the president of a theological society clearly has leadership over a man. That is God's judgment upon us, as the Old Testament would seem to say. And so that's one reason. Another reason is that people might say, well, no, you can have women in leadership capacities. They can lead a business and it's fine. However, they get worried here because this is a sort of a Christian institution that has downstream impact on the church. And because of that, there's an issue with, they don't want, it's too close almost. I think it's too close to the church, and it has impact on people who are in the church and pastors. Shouldn't have women who are doing that. Now, I think both of these are bad reasons. One of them is worse than the other. Both of them are stemming from a poor ecclesiology. One of them a little bit less so, and it's a little bit jointed to a misunderstanding of what ETS even is. So the universal male headship idea, I just think, I don't think you can find that in Scripture, and I don't think that's really like, it's crazy. So you're telling me, like, where's the age that men have to have 100% leadership over women? So when you grow up, you have a mom, obviously, and if you're a male, when is it okay to stop listening to your mom because it becomes a violation of this order of creation? When is it wrong to learn anything from your mom? Is it wrong for you to go to college and to be taught chemistry from a woman? Like, it just seems like so silly. It really is. It's patriarchy is a word that gets thrown around with very little meaning. So I try to avoid it, but there is this sense in which there's a patriarchal movement, right? That is supposed to be, I would think of patriarchal movement as this universal male headship. In every single scenario, the male has to lead. To me, the worry boils down to like intimidation, because you're intimidated that women will show you up. And so you need to find some sort of mechanism to avoid that, to insulate yourself from it. That may sound critical, and that's probably not the case for everybody, but that really is, I think, fundamentally, there's a sociological element for a lot of these men who are fearful of other women, and they need to somehow show their dominance over them. And that's the easiest way to show your dominance is to stamp out any potential uprising. And so you do it by this universal male headship. I don't want to get into all that. There's no justification in scripture for this universal male headship. You can go to Genesis, the creation account. Woman's taken out of man's side. I don't see anywhere in that Genesis narrative. You're going to have to go to 1 Timothy 2. I mean, 1 Corinthians 14 talks about the church, women being silent there. 1 Corinthians 2 does go to the order of creation to justify why the woman is not to exercise authority or teach. And the rationale is, well, because man was created first. And so it seems that what has to happen for the universal male headship is you extrapolate from that to a universal application to every single scenario and possible location. But 1 Timothy 2 is explicitly instructions regarding the life of the local church and public worship. It has nothing to do with other scenarios. I mean, even the text Acts 18 with Aquila and Priscilla, teaching and admonishing and instructing Apollos in a way better to understand the scriptures. Priscilla is a woman. Even Calvin himself says a woman is teaching here a man, and says that that's right. And he says, well, it's because this is apart from the public worship of the church. It is not in a public setting. It's in a private setting, and therefore this admonishment is acceptable and okay. But if Calvin says that's acceptable and okay in that situation, then universal male headship is bunk. It doesn't work. I'm sure universal male headship guys must give sort of like statistical analysis, but I have yet to see any sophisticated statistical analysis of why male headship is superior in every single location and place. So I think universal male headship is just stupid. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't mean you're denying universal male headship, doesn't mean you're feminizing everything. That's just a defense mechanism for shallow, fearful men who don't know how to, I guess, have a real argument about things. You're all going to get mad at that. Not you're all. Most of you guys who are listening probably agree with that and think it's crazy. Those of you who are watching or listening, the very few who think universal male headship is true, well, yeah, that's crazy. So it is what it is. You're going to have to deal with that. Now, as far as the more sufficient question of the downstream impact, I still think this is bad ecclesiology, because 1 Timothy 2 is talking about the life of the local church and the public worship of the life of the local church. It is not talking about theological societies. This is an academic theological society designed to discuss academic theological things. It has no local church has authority over this. This society has two doctrinal statements or standards. Two. Believe in the Trinity and believe that Scripture is true. Like that. That's it. Inerrancy of Scripture and the Trinity. That's all you got. So you can have open theists in there, and you have open theists in leadership currently. So I don't. Where's the anxiety and outcry over that? Right? There is none. That should be telling. There seems to be and very much a strong misunderstanding of just the ecclesiological nature of First Timothy 2 and how where and how women can teach or lead and exercise authority. But even so, there's not a lot of leadership or teaching that's going on as president of the ETS, and there's not a lot and giving presentations or giving lectures on theological topics. In my mind, in an academic conference that has nothing to do with the local church, is not connected in any way. There's no local church oversight. There's no local church authorization. This is an external body that's apart from the local church. First Timothy 2 has nothing to say about that. Now, maybe you say, well, it's not prudent because it has potential downstream impact. I just don't see how that really connects or how that really lands. We shouldn't be fearful of allowing women to exercise their wisdom to assist and aid us in our journey to God. They are co-heirs with us. Now, I got a response when I tweeted about this from some women who are upset because you don't want to give preferential treatment to women just because they're women. That's not my intention. I'm just saying that women have a right and to be a part of the Evangelical Theological Society and to present and do whatever they want there. There's no biblical reason to prohibit them from doing that. There's no theological reason in my mind to do that either. So I think it really seems to boil down to bad ecclesiology, or you're just intimidated and afraid of having women show you up. I don't know what else to do with it. And there's these two sort of views that seem to be the culprits for why this is wrong. And I got plenty of pushback and feedback from people, but there was no real substantial engagement, right? So almost all of them are. It seems to be universal male headship is the issue, because you're basically saying, oh, you're being feminized by saying that women are allowed to be there. What are you talking about, dude? Allowing women to talk is feminizing the world? Are you serious? Are you kidding me? Um, Maybe there's a more sophisticated argument. I just don't know it. And so that I'm characterizing them and tarring and feathering them. Okay. If that's true, give me the comments and tell me what it is, and I'll do another episode talking about it. The more legitimate answer or question that I received is more of that, well, it's downstream impact. But I still think that does, like, you can't place a law there where there's not clearly a law in scripture. That's just, maybe you would say it's not prudent, and that's fine. You can make that argument. It's not prudent, whatever. You cannot make that a standard by which you judge things, though. Just because you don't think something's prudent or you don't think something's wise doesn't mean that you get to say, well, that's therefore wrong. But I still don't see why it's not, like, what's wrong with it. I don't know. So that's my little mini take in 15-ish minutes, whatever this time has been, is why it's fine to have a woman as president of ETS. Who cares? It's an academic theological society that has two doctrinal statements. Like, if it had in its doctrinal standard that you couldn't be an egalitarian, then well, duh. But it doesn't. You have all sorts of people a part of ETS. Of course, you should have a woman as president if that's what the people vote for. Who cares? There's nothing in there that says you can't. Now, we can have a broader discussion on gender and stuff if you think that's useful. I've talked a little bit about gender in the past with John Piper. If you guys think that would be useful, I'm happy to talk a little bit about it. We can talk through some of the views on sex and gender in contemporary context to give a little bit of context for the different options that are out there, the ones that you can have as a faithful Christian, the ones you can have as a confessional Christian, and the ones you can't have. I'm happy to do that in the future if that would be a good resource to you all. And if you don't care, then we can move on and talk about other stuff. So I did want to talk about this. I've got some other things in the line, in the queue, that I plan to talk about with these once every 4 episodes, though they might end up getting backlogged. So they will no longer be hot takes by the time they get posted. But that's probably in my best interest and your best interest, right? Part of the purpose of having only 1 in 4 episodes is to remove the ability to create hot takes, because that helps build a platform for sure, but it typically engenders unfruitful sort of content, and it produces a sort of, like, I don't know, mode of interaction that's unhelpful. And so hopefully, I mean, I've been a little bit cheeky with the guys who like the universal male headship, right? And so, but I think they should be able to take it in good fun, in good gesture, if they're true masculine men. As far as the downstream impact sort of guys, I still think that they're wrong, but I get, excuse me, I very much understand. I think the impulse is genuine. They want to honor Scripture and what it says. I just think they don't understand what ETS is fundamentally, and I think they're making too strong of a connection there between ETS and the local church. If you think that somehow a woman that's president of ETS is going to corrupt all the pastors that are ETS, number one, there's not that many pastors at ETS, and number two, if of all places you're worried about corruption is where all the guys have PhDs, like, let's go ahead and close up shop and start over. If they can't discern, and if they're going to be that influenced that easily, then what are we even doing here? I think of all places, if there's a place that they can actually discern and make their own judgments, should be here. These are the people that have spent enough time making distinctions and thinking deeply about topics, understanding the various options and the views. They should be able to make their own judgment without being unduly influenced. So that's my take on this. What do you guys think? Do you agree, disagree, have other ideas? Did I miss a reason that we shouldn't have a woman as a ETS president? Did I mischaracterize something? Did I miss another reason that they're faulty for thinking that women can't be president of ETS or whatever that may be? Let me know in the comments. I know there was somebody who made a comment about, sort of like the platform building nature of getting mad about the women being president of ETS. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. If there is a lightning rod of topics, it's this, right? Among evangelicals, talk about this and you can rile up the base. But I don't like to impugn those sort of motives all the time, though I very much can sense that that's probably true for some, maybe not for all. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Hopefully you can sense that I'm not trying to be super antagonistic. I've been cheeky a little bit here and there, but I love you all. Appreciate you all. I'd hug it out with you guys who are universal male headship dudes. I think you're crazy. I think you're nuts. I think you got some problems, but we can be friends. Unless you want to be super nuts, then we can't be friends. But we can still respect each other. Hopefully. We'll see. I don't know. You tell me. Drop a note in the comments. Love to hear from you guys. Anyway, until next time, look forward to seeing you guys soon.